April 9, 1865, 9 a.m. A 58-year-old man holds a pen worth more than all the weapons in America. One signature. Just one signature. And 4 years of war, 620,000 dead, and the dream of an entire nation would vanish forever. But what you don't know is that Robert E. Lee had a third option. An option his generals begged him to choose. An option that could have changed everything. And why he rejected it will shock you to your soul. Lee walks slowly toward the McLean house. His steps echo like cannon fire in the deadly silence of Appomattox. Behind him, 28,000 Confederates wait. Starving, barefoot soldiers, but still willing to die for him. In front of him, Grant waits with 120,000 Union men. The math is simple, brutal, definitive. But Lee carries something heavier than numbers, the weight of a decision that will define not only his fate but that of millions. In his mind, 3 voices echo like ghosts, 3 choices that will tear his soul in half. 3 days earlier, at Sailor's Creek, Lee saw his army disintegrate like a sandcastle in the tide. 8,000 men, a third of his forces, captured or killed in one bloody afternoon. His son Custis, captured. His general Ewell, captured. Pieces of his military family torn off like limbs. That night, Lee sat alone in his tent, facing a truth that tore at his heart: the Confederacy was dead. But 3 of his generals had other plans. Plans that would stain history with blood for decades. General Lee, Longstreet bursts into the tent like a human storm. His eyes gleam with desperate determination. "We can still win this, sir. Not through conventional battles, but through guerrilla warfare." Lee raises his tired eyes. He sees they're not just a general, but a man drowning in denial. "James, we lost. The South lost. Accept it." His voice carries the weight of 1,000 burials. "No, sir." Longstreet slams his fist on the table. "We disperse the army. Every man goes home and fights as he can." Gordon and Fitz Lee arrive like echoes of the first. 3 generals, 3 voices, a chorus of despair. "General, we have enough cavalry to break through the lines," Fitz Lee insists. "You can escape to North Carolina. Johnston still has an army there. We can regroup, keep fighting," Gordon adds with almost religious fervor. Lee watches them, these men who followed his orders through hell and came back asking for more. He sees in them what he himself feels: the impossibility of accepting that everything they fought for was in vain. Lee walks alone through the Confederate camps on the dawn of April 8. What he sees breaks his heart into pieces. Soldiers sleep hugging their weapons, without shoes, without food, but still dreaming of impossible victory. 16-year-old boys with gray hair from suffering. Men who lost everything, but didn't lose faith in him. "General Lee. General Lee." They whisper when they see him pass. They try to get up, to salute. He stops them with gentle gestures, knowing that each bow might be the last. In his tent, Lee opens a letter from Mary, his wife. The words dance through unshed tears. "Arlington has been taken by the Federals. They are burying their dead in our garden, Robert. Our house is now a cemetery. Everything he fought for, his home, his land, his way of life, is already dead and buried. But there is still an unopened letter. From President Davis. Final orders that could change everything. Avoid surrender at all costs. The cause must survive even if the army perishes." Grant emerges like a ghost on the morning horizon. His troops spread like a blue fog across the fields. Lee observes through binoculars and sees not an enemy, but a distorted mirror of himself. 2 professional soldiers, 2 men of honor, trapped in a tragedy greater than their personal wills. Sheridan positions cavalry to cut off any escape route. The trap closes like iron jaws. "Sir," an aide murmurs, "we can still try to break west." The Confederate generals gather for the last time. The debate that follows will define the soul of America. "General Lee," Longstreet pleads, "dispersing the army is not cowardice. It's a survival strategy. Every man goes back to his farm, his town. The fight continues clandestinely, for years if necessary." Lee closes his eyes and sees the future that this decision would create: an America bleeding for decades. Ambushes, assassinations, nighttime terror. The Civil War turning into a war of eternal hatred. And the civilians, James? Lee's voice cuts through the air like a blade. "What happens to the women, the children?" Longstreet hesitates. Everyone knows the answer, but no one wants to say it out loud. Guerrilla warfare means total war. It means every farm becomes a battlefield. It means North America becomes what South America was, a continent forever bloodied. Is that what you want as a legacy? Lee stares at them one by one. Is that honor? April 8, the last battle. Lee orders a desperate attack at dawn. A final test of fate. Gordon advances with 2,000 men against the Federal lines. For a miraculous moment, they break through. But then Ord's infantry appears. 20,000 fresh men like a blue human tide. Lee watches from atop a hill and sees his last hope shatter against reality. There is nothing left to do but go see General Grant, he murmurs to Marshall, his aide. In the McLean house, two Americas meet face to face. Grant, short and simple. Lee, tall and aristocratic. Two worlds that cannot coexist, forced to negotiate the end of a national dream. Grant offers generous terms, soldiers can take horses home, officers keep swords. But Lee knows he's signing more than a surrender. He's signing the death certificate of the South he knew. His hand trembles as he holds the pen. A signature worth more than all the lost battles. General Lee, Marshall whispers, it's not too late. The men will follow you anywhere. Lee stops, pen suspended over the paper like a sword over a neck. The moment stretches into eternity. He sees Grant waiting patiently. He sees his own officers with tears in their eyes. He sees history waiting. Then he thinks of the soldiers outside. The boys who trust him. The mothers who cry for dead sons. I would rather die 1,000 deaths than live with the weight of an endless war, he whispers, and signs. Outside the house, Confederate soldiers wait for the verdict like convicts waiting for a sentence. When Lee emerges, their faces light up with pathetic hope. Maybe there's still a miracle. Men, his voice carries the weight of 4 years of war, we did our best. Now we must accept the result. Tears begin to roll down bearded faces. Soldiers fall to their knees as if the world has ended. For them, it had. The Confederate dream died at that moment, not in battles, but in the dignity of surrender. Grant orders his troops not to celebrate. The rebels are our countrymen again, he declares. But Lee knows that the real battle has just begun. The battle for the soul of a reunified America. His decision to surrender honorably, instead of continuing the fight, saved the nation from decades of terror. Other Southern leaders wanted guerrilla warfare. Lee chose peace, even if it cost his own honor. Years later, historians will understand, Lee saved America from itself at that moment. The Confederate Army dissolves like morning fog. Men who marched 1,000 miles together say goodbye forever. Many cry openly. Others leave in deadly silence, carrying folded flags like shrouds. Lee rides Traveler for the last time as a Confederate general. The ride back home is a funeral. But he carries something more than defeat, he carries the consciousness of having made the right choice. The choice that hurt more than any wound, but saved more lives than any victory. 20 years later, Lee will be revered even by former enemies. Not for what he achieved, but for what he prevented. His final decision, to choose surrender over resistance, defined the character of the American Reconstruction. Other countries that experienced bloody civil wars bled for generations. America healed relatively quickly. Because one man had the courage to accept defeat when victory would cost the soul of a nation. Robert E. Lee lost a war, but he saved a country. And that, perhaps, is the greatest legacy. If you've made it this far, it's because you understand that true leadership is not about never losing. It's about knowing how to lose. Lee taught us that sometimes the bravest decision is to stop fighting. The next time you face an inevitable defeat, remember, great leaders know when surrendering with honor is worth more than resisting without it. Next week, we'll discover how a 5-word telegram sent by an unknown operator changed the course of the Civil War. And why Lincoln was almost prevented from reading it. As one of the greatest Civil War historians taught us, the great decisions of history rarely happen on battlefields. They happen in the conscience of the men who must make them.